You're watching CST.
The New Orleans Saints wrap things up in Metairie and start to point the fleur-de-lis out west. Hi again, everybody. Welcome into the Saints Training Camp Report with John DeShazier. I'm Sean Kelly. The weekend has come to an end with an outdoor practice here at the Osher Sports Performance Center. The Saints barely got their long practice in before the skies opened up. Nonetheless, pretty successful. Nice crowd out here today, John. Good cap for the weekend ahead of a day off tomorrow.
Yeah, this is the way you want to finish out a week. A crisp practice heading into a day off. No injuries, and that, always knock wood on that, but I think they got in a lot of quality work, and that's the whole purpose.
Head coach Sean Payton seemed pleased after practice. We were also pleased to see Marcus Davenport continue his rebound, if you will, the first-round pick, fully dressed alongside his teammates today. Did a lot of conditioning work, John, off to the side. He seems teed up and ready to go to really get it up and moving in Los Angeles.
Yeah, Coach Payton mentioned the ramping up of his work, and we certainly expect to see him going against the Chargers during the week, and then hopefully this weekend. He needs to get back in football shape, and he needs to get back on the field, get his conditioning, hopefully see a little bit of what he's got.
Meanwhile, Kurt Coleman and his teammates are looking forward to upcoming joint practices with the Los Angeles Chargers, and for a guy like Coleman, who was kept out of the second preseason game, John, this is an important stretch of camp for him, a veteran, to use these workouts against somebody wearing a different jersey.
Well, we're talking about game simulation during joint practices generally. I mean, guys are really getting after it, trying to see how they measure up, because look, all this goes on film, and it's a competitive situation. It's not the same as going against a teammate. Now the competitive juices jump even more because you have an opponent over there with a different colored jersey, and you always want to show up well on film.
Head coach Sean Payton agrees with Kurt Coleman and also looks forward to those practices.
I think the greatest thing is, I think almost, I don't want to say complacency when you go against your own team, but it kind of ramps up the competition. I think if you look at what's happened over these last couple of weeks when teams have been practicing, there's been several fights. Because it's very intense. But I think the one thing that you want to be able to come out of it is going against a different opponent, different people, and pushing yourself. You want to be able to grow. Obviously, fights will happen, but that's not what you want. You want to have good, hard, competing practices. And hopefully both teams can come away with saying, we learned this, or maybe, you're going against a certain wide receiver. Keenan Allen's a really good wide receiver. Hopefully, whether it be Crawley, Marshawn, whoever it is you can learn some things from great wide receivers.
Those practices on Wednesday and Thursday in Carson, California. Also a bit of a homecoming for a guy like Manti Te'o. We talked about this a little bit last year. He reiterated again how cool it is to go up against some of his old teammates.
Obviously, there's a lot of excitement there. Got a lot of friends on that team, and I'm excited for our team to go out there and to compete. It was a good time for us to go out there last year, and we ended the trip the way we wanted to, and hopefully we can go out there, get some good work in with a good team, and compete on Saturday. And that's what this is all about. It's nice to compete against a different colored jersey, and for me, especially to go against familiar faces.
And John, this is a pretty good Chargers team that the Saints will work with this week leading up to a preseason game on Saturday night. A very good defense. They've got Phillip Rivers, a good receiving core as well. There's a real challenge here what the Saints are up against this week.
Yeah, we're talking about a team that has a fantastic set of defensive ends and really can give you problems defensively. And as you mentioned, Phillip Rivers, a veteran quarterback who has picked apart a lot of NFL teams, high on the all-time charts in terms of passing yards, efficiency. He lost a weapon in Antonio Gates. Doesn't have him anymore. They might end up having to bring him back because of some injuries, but certainly a talented team across the board.
Well, we all know how good Cam Jordan is, and he certainly tips the cap to those bookend defensive ends you referred to, Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa.
He's special. His first couple steps are special. Watching film out here, he explodes off. You talk about, hand combinations, just the smoothness of the ability to create pressures and pass rush. Joey Bosa's up there. Love watching both of their film. So, I feel like our offensive line, I have it cut out for them, but at the same time, they've been going up against, me and Marcus and a healthy dose of Alex Okafor and Trey Hendrickson, so I think they're well prepared.
Absolutely no doubt about it. The Saints are ready for those joint practices. This is coming at a perfect time during training camp, John.
Yeah, because, again, you break some monotony. Now, they've played a couple of preseason games. I understand that. But now the joint practices, that's always a highlight of training camp for teams because they have also worked against each other a ton of times, and they're just sick of each other. So now getting some quality work against another team also benefits them.
Nicely done today with a good, I think you used the word crisp, a nice crisp practice today that kind of leaps you out onto the tarmac and heading west for those joint practices. Saints have a day off tomorrow. We'll set the schedule up for you in just a bit here on the Saints Training Camp Report. Up next, though, a very special guest. We're pleased to have Jay Glazer from the NFL on Fox join us in just a moment. Training Camp Report. Jay Glazer, NFL on Fox. It's always great when he's here at camp because of, I think, more than anything else, a relationship that you have with Sean Payton, isn't it, Jay?
Oh, I don't like that guy. I met him last night. We were at a bar and asked him. Told him I'm a big fan of football, but I was talking about Manchester United, and it just didn't go well from there. So I've known Sean for years, obviously. Look, we have a good relationship where they brought in our MMA program here last year. We trained these guys for about 6 or 8 weeks. Secondary 2 weeks out in LA, and then another 6 weeks going in this season. Sean had good faith that we can kind of, help change these guys' body language and violence. So it was me, Randy Couture, Jason Borber. We all came in here, and it's, you have these relationships that kind of build over the years, and this one helped both of us out.
Jay, can you ever think that the marriage of your love for MMA and contact sports could ever marry up so well as it has here in the last several years in the NFL?
No, I didn't. But, I've always got involved. I wrestled from 1982 to I boxed in 1986. I did MMA. I started there in the early 2000s, and it's something that I feel makes me different. You got to do something that makes you different. And people are still like, why would you do this? It makes me different. I can walk in any room, and I feel it makes me different. I love it. I see beauty in it. But when I joined Fox, they made me stop fighting. And clearly, I'm not on TV for my looks, so I don't understand why. But I just couldn't stop doing it because, again, it kind of, believe it or not, helps me out with my own mental health. It makes the roommates in my head all talk nice with each other. So I learned how to start coaching guys, and it made so much sense. I'm trying to break you, whether I'm wrestling you or fighting you, I'm trying to break you. These guys, even though it's a team sport, it's about breaking that guy across from them. So if you can teach them that and teach them body language, how not to show that you're about to break, how to ramp it up on somebody, and if you know you're in better shape than that guy, you got to make it a bad day for them in that cage or that field.
Hey, let's stay with the physical side of this because there's going to be a lot of talk here throughout the preseason, and I think early in the regular season about the new helmet rule for defenders. Jay, I mean, this is a violent sport, and there are just some things about this sport that you just can't, I guess, officiate. Right. They're going to try this. What are your thoughts on how this could play out?
I think the biggest problem is the consistency. If it's a rule that is called the exact same way for everybody, they'll learn how to adapt. Mm-hmm. You can't be dumb and play in the NFL. You'll adapt. Right. These guys got to be smart. That's really the difference between people who make it and don't make it. It's what's between the ears. But it's the consistency. If there's a lack of consistency, it goes from game to game or, from stadium to stadium, that's going to drive these guys crazy. Their job is on the line expecting you to be consistent. And if it's not consistent, then the uproar is going to start getting louder and louder.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Hey, your thoughts on the Saints? I know this is kind of a bit of a glancing blow on this visit, but you've been studying these teams now throughout the offseason. What's your take on what Sean's got here right now?
Yeah, I think they're kind of under the radar, which is pretty hard for the Saints to do, but I like what they did. Obviously adding some pass rush help there in the draft, and I think that last year they were a different team. They kind of found their fight, and I think that how they handled the Vikings game. What they have to understand also is the Falcons went through it last year. They don't decide when they get to stop talking about that, when they stop answering questions. As much as you want to, it's really not on your timeline. It's on everybody else's. And Falcons did a great job getting through that last year with what happened with them and the Patriots. And these guys, they've already kind of, you're not hearing about it as much, which I'm really surprised about, which shows that they've done a terrific job of being able to just put it right out there, put the elephant in the room, talk about it, and be able to move on. They moved on a lot faster than I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Hey, when the regular season kicks off, Jay, just from kind of a national level, what do you think are going to be the hotter, bigger topics in those first couple of weeks?
49ers and Garoppolo. That'll be real big. I think Deshaun Watson, he'll be big. Obviously, Saquon Barkley and the Giants, they're going to Saquon was just there in New York, and it's everything. He is like, oh my goodness, it's like Lawrence Taylor and Strahan are suddenly playing running back. There's an awful lot of attention on him over there. And then, look, Dallas Cowboys are always the Dallas Cowboys. They're somewhat flying on the radar right now because of they don't really have this, besides the anthem, they have no controversy. But they get themselves
Cowboy-like.
That's what I'm saying. But they get themselves some pass rushers, and you now have Dak and Zeke together. The two of them are more in sync now than I think they have been. They're always going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I hope you get to know Sean a little bit better. I know you guys just met last night, as you said. Yeah.
Look, I won a charity to spend a night with Sean Payton at a bar here in New Orleans, and I got stuck with the tab. I wasn't expecting that. And what kind of rip-off charity is this? Thanks a lot.
Yeah. It's a tough crowd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just not fair. Life's not fair.
Jay, players, John, and then it's off to California, as we've talked about. Help us set up the week here.
Yeah, that's basically what it's going to be. You have the off day, you have the travel day on Tuesday. They'll probably do a little bit of walkthrough work here on Tuesday. Then you have the joint practices on Wednesday and Thursday, and you get ready for a Saturday game. So Saints will have a lot of preparation for the Chargers.
All right, a couple of guys we'll be looking for to come back at the top of the list. Marcus Davenport, when this team practices out west. As it seems right now, it looks like practice on Wednesday and Thursday will be about noon Central Time, 10 a.m. out on the West Coast. And, of course, we'll have you updated all throughout, not only on the Saints Training Camp Report, but on NewOrleansSaints.com, too. Safe travels to the Saints. Good rest of the weekend to you. For John DeShazier, I'm Sean Kelly. See you next time on the Saints Training Camp Report.